Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We're still, of course, looking at Nigeria's political landscape and the outcomes that we've seen in Nigeria in 2023. We're joined by political analyst, Mr. Jide Johnson. Thank you very much for joining us. All right, now, before we went on break, we had talked about a number of the changes that we've seen, unfortunate expectations. The expectation that Nigerian citizens have does not match the reality of what is. And another area in, excuse me, another area we've seen that in would be the cost of goods and services, the price of living. Inflation has hit an all-time high. The naira is exchanging at 1,233 naira to a dollar. We never would have imagined that the day will come. So this Christmas would be arguably one of the bleakest Christmas that Nigerians have seen. We're going to head to the state capital to see exactly what the situation is in Abuja, and then we'll come back to talk more about the reality of what is and the expectation from Nigerians. We'll be joining Amadine Uyi shortly. But Mr. Johnson, talk to us about how would you say the Nigeria's government has fared in terms of, I mean, there's been conversations of palliatives and, conversation of paying 35,000 naira. And there has been conversation of even continuing the payment of palliatives. Are we not doing a quick fix to a permanent problem?
I think that the government should understand that politicking has ended. Governance has started. Governance is more serious than politicking. You have seen a lot of pronouncement from the president and his team. And you should understand that every statement made by the president is a proclamation by virtue of the power conferred on him by the Constitution. It's a policy statement. Now, the first two major mistakes the president made was on his inaugural speech. One, the removal of fuel subsidy, and two, the unified exchange, without having a clear understanding of the economy. Nigeria is a monoproduct economy. One, everything depends on oil, which is the major source of energy, and you need energy to power your economy. And the president made that statement, and the reverberating effect of that is still affect. I don't know how much you...
Is it necessarily about the president's statement? Because with or without the president's statement, we were aware that subsidy was going to end in June.
In June,
right?
But it ended in May 29, June, by the constitution, by the provisions, by budgetary allocation. We were told that by the end of June it will end, but it ended with the president's proclamation.
Would it have changed anything if
well,
you didn't say that?
Because because you need to put in place some systemic structure in order to have an understanding of what is going on with the economy, considering the fact that your economy is powered by energy, and the source of your energy is oil, and it's also your major earner of your foreign exchange earning, which your naira derives its value from, and you see the total and utter collapse of the naira. And as a result of that, we've seen that we have moved from the inflationary rate has moved from 15% to about 35% now, and it's affecting everybody. How much did you buy fuel yesterday?
620.
620.
In fact, the projection was 30% by December.
620, and then what was the price when the president took over?
185.
And we have accepted that as a fait accompli. I told someone that this month alone, as a lecturer, I've spent close to about 100,000 buying fuel. How much do I have? And I drive a Corolla, and it's fuel economy compared to what others will have paid. And you see the reverberating effect. And yet we are expanding government. We have the largest cabinet you can ever think of, the largest fleet of official vehicles you can ever think of. So government is not even sending the signal to the people that, you know what, the sacrifices we are asking you to make, we are making it. So that's why people have become despondent. A lot of Nigerians have become despondent, and you cannot rule a nation where people don't have confidence in your system. So there's a need for government moving to 2024 to build the confidence of, because in the first instance, people did not even have a confidence with the outcome of the 2023 presidential elections and all other elections that we had in the country, by virtue of the outcome of the result. This is the slimmest margin that anybody will emerge as president. In actual sense, those that voted against the president were much more than those that voted for him. As a result of that, he has the slimmest mandate. So, and coupled with the various policies that we have seen put in place, it seems to me, that's my opinion, I might be wrong, that we are still, the thought pattern of those in government now is that we are still doing electionary campaign. Talk about the 50% reduction in the transportation cost.
Yes.
Talk about the non-payment of salaries for federal civil servants in this particular season. You begin to wonder that, well, a lot of things need to. I've said it. The president should have waited for like 6 months, put his cabinet in place, and set up a steering committee to look at the rot or whatever challenges are within the system before he churns out his policy, other than the grandstanding, and I still stand by it. What the president did on his inauguration was pure political grandstanding, and it's affecting his administration, and it's affecting every Nigerian. Every Nigerian is feeling the brunt of that particular policy.
Yeah, well, you said, that we need to, get into proper governance, not politics.
Politicking.
But what if this is their idea of governance? What if their idea of governance is politics? And how to sell the president the best, continue to play politics. We're saying it happened in River State. That's politics with Sibu Fubara and Nyesom Wike. We've seen it, of course, happen in Edo State also. It's politics. There's no actual governance, in the real sense.
Yeah, that's why some of us have argued that, what we need to do? We need to approach the National Assembly and come up with a bill that turns to an act of the parliament that ensures that, elections are conducted on time and before swearing in litigations are dealt with. Now, if you look at it, after election in Nigeria, all the governors, majority of the governors that won election or re-election are still in the courts. Now, in Nigeria, we use the first year of the new administration for litigation, the second year for actual governance, and the third year for re-election purposes. Now, you see that after the president won at the Supreme Court, you've seen that some have even started conversation for 2027 and not talking about 2024, 2025, 2026. So there are things that we need to put in place with respect to our political system in terms of the time we do the election, in terms of when we do swearing in, and in terms of where we do litigation. Because most of the time, litigation takes the first year, and then the second year they concentrate on administration, and by the third year they start their re-election process, and it affects governance. And another thing we need to do is to ensure that the moment we swear you in as a governor or president, we don't see the flag of your party behind you. You are no longer the governor of your party.
Well, tell that to a country where when the governor comes to present his budget, they are singing his official campaign song. Let's head over to Abuja, where we have our Abuja Bureau Chief, Amadine Uyi, on standby. Residents in the FCT have continued to decry increase in the food commodities. And this, of course, has been a national issue as Nigerians celebrate Christmas. And we have Amadine Uyi to give us further details on that. Good morning, Amadine. Thank you for joining us. What's going on in Abuja? Amadine, are you able to hear us? We hear that it's stiff conditions, living conditions in the in the country's capital. Oh,
all right, we're going to continue with. We're going
to try to reconnect with him.
With Amadine Uyi, but let's go back to Jide Johnson and keep the conversation going. You also share your thoughts on, we're focusing mostly on politicking and politics, for 2023. Like you said, this is a year of litigation. Next year, there might be some governance. The following year, there would be discussions on 2027. The Peter Obi aspect, has seemingly wavered. We don't get to hear a lot of it. How significant do you think it was for Nigerians in 2023? And do you think that it would survive beyond 2024, Max?
Now, we don't really have a pure electoral reform. I've told people that I will not do election analysis again, because what we do is paralysis. Because the actions of the bodies that are charged with responsibility of paralyzed you. If you look at the off-cycle election we had in Kogi, in Bayelsa, and in Imo State, those were not elections. I think I spent about 12 hours of my life analyzing that election on various TV stations. I was in the studio from 9 p.m. till 6 a.m. the following morning, and we'll be analyzing something in the studio, and something that is happening will be paralyzing the analysis. If we have that same system that we had, where you had 98% voters turnout, which is not even possible anywhere compared to what we have in February and March, and then in April, and then suddenly you now move from 35% voters turnout, 25% voters turnout, to 95% voters turnout. If we have that system in place in 2027, then we should forget about democracy, because democracy is government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Right. And if you operate a constitutional democracy, which is what we practice, whoever receives his mandate, the mandate should come from the people and should come from the ballot box, not from the one that is written on INEC from EC8 or EC8A or B or C or D. And that's some of the things which we witness with respect to particularly those off-cycle elections. So if you are looking at having a strong, vibrant opposition, this is what I tell people. In 2023, in 2003, the opposition was almost dead. The national AD, by the time we went into 2003 election, the opposition was almost dead. Then AD and APP were almost gone. And then there is every likelihood, because one of the approach that President Tinubu has adopted is to run an expansive government, because he came with the narrowest margin to be the president, and he wants to enlarge his coast. And you have seen that the way they are dispensing political patronage left, right. I said, I can assure you, by 2027, you might not have any opposition. Oh, wow. You might not have a strong opposition in Nigeria, going by what we have seen in the past, and the Nigerian politicians not being able to hold onto an ideology.
Let's bring back Amadinwi, who's joining us from the Federal Capital Territory. Good morning. Can you hear us?
Good morning. I can hear you loud and clear.
All right. Compliments of the season. Quickly share with us, a feel of what Abuja is like, for this morning. How have residents been able to celebrate the Christmas, with the current realities on ground?
Okay, yesterday, if you followed from the reports that we tried to glean from the streets and from different churches, the economic hardship did not deter citizens, residents of Abuja, from coming out to celebrate the Christmas holidays. If you see, right now I'm standing at the Kurudu axis of Abuja, and you look behind me, a market is not too far away. So many people are still coming out en masse to see what they can get. Those citizens complained about the hardship and how difficult it has been to celebrate 2023 Christmas, but a lot of them still came out to celebrate in their own little way and to just relax and share with their families.
Has there been anything different with I don't know if you've been able to find out, has there been anything different with the shopping patterns this year? Are people having to change their shopping patterns, to things that they can afford somehow, some way, and, maybe ditch things that used to be a part of the Christmas celebration a few years back?
Okay, like for the direct sellers who are selling produce and chicken and other food items where people have to prepare, they saw a little bit of market. But the category of Nigerians that were really affected were service providers, beauty hair salons, barbing salons, and then recreational sports. One of our reporters who went out yesterday admitted that he spoke to some of them, and they said there is no business for them this year. I also spoke to a lady who runs a beauty hair salon, and she was complaining that this year has really been dry, that she's not had customers just like she used to have in the previous years. But all in all, Nigerians are still trying their best to make the best of the current situation. But the category of Nigerians mostly affected are those who provide services and then the recreational sports.
All right. We, of course, look forward to seeing better days and better reports from the federal capital and all through the country. Thank you very much, Amadinwi, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Jide Johnson, your reactions to that on, final note. as we're coming fast to the end of the show. Your thoughts on, our our living standards and how we can improve these.
And also, you could just add to that, what you would expect from the Nigerian government today, after Plateau State becomes, of course, major news.
Well, and every one of us, we spoke about what we spend on buying fuel, which we have to commute ourselves from one place to the other, which invariably affect your discretionary income, which ultimately affects what you have to save and what you have to take care of other things. So it's affecting, and we don't have the privilege of borrowing to fund our lifestyle like the government. The government has, Nigerian government over the years have this tendency to borrow to fund their own lifestyle, but an average Nigerian does not have that capacity. Who will borrow money? The banks or your friends or what have you? So I think moving forward, the government needs to really address the cost of living, and how they are going to go about that is to stop a lot of this propaganda, this various politicking with public policy, and politicking with public policy, but do real policy that affect the life of the lives of people. I knew each and every one of us that is working, particularly those of us that have faces that people can see. The kind of pressure you see from people.
Oh, yes.
The kind of pressure you have received, people asking you for. So government should understand that Nigerians are really suffering, and there's the need to really address the economic situation that which we have on ground in order to bring smiles to the faces of Nigeria. And on the issue of security, I think people should be held accountable. There are agencies of government, there are personnel of government that we have given responsibility to, and there are funds that have been allocated to protect life and properties of the citizenry. And that is the first and primary responsibility of any government. We shouldn't gloss over this. The life of a Nigerian is what the life of a senator is, what the life, of an House of Rep member. Every Nigerian should be, that's the constitutional requirement. And what happened in Plateau, we pray that God will grant the family to bear the fortitude of their losses, but that that particular issue, it has become recurrent that we have developed this skin to look away, but government cannot afford to look away. Government needs to look straight into the issue and address that particular
Maybe even
issue.
go and visit the people of Plateau State. We'd like to see, I'm sure that some people would like to see the president in Plateau State commiserating with the people who have lost loved ones.
I think it was earlier this month or late last month that mistakenly a bomb was dropped in Kaduna where a lot of Nigerians were killed, and we have not seen the end of that particular matter.
Absolutely.
People have not been held accountable for that. So it's important for people to be held accountable. Accountability is the watchword of public governance.
Mr. Jide Johnson, thank you so much for joining us
It's
today.
a pleasure to be with you. Thank you for having me.
Okay.